Good afternoon, Jason Dowdey here with Weichert Realtors Tower Properties. So, wanted to do a quick little informational video for you guys that talks about the differences between contingent and pending. So, if you're looking online and you're finding those little things that say, hey, this property is contingent, what does it mean? Well, that's what we're going to try and talk about here. So, typically, when you see a contingent offer, it usually means one of four things. First thing is that usually it's contingent on a home inspection. That's the most common. And what happens is a buyer and a seller agree that they're going to sell a property, but the buyer would like to have a home inspection. Maybe it's a septic inspection or a well inspection. And there's a set number of days that they agree that they'll come in and they'll do either their testing or they'll go through the property, make sure it meets all the conditions that is satisfactory to the buyer. And if it is, it'll move forward and it'll go to pending. Okay, so that's a home inspection contingency. Typically, you'll see those anywhere from 7 days to 30 days, depending on what the buyers and sellers agree is fair to them. So the second one is going to be a home sale contingency. A home sale contingency is when a buyer has made an offer on a seller's house, but they have a house to sell. Okay, those sometimes, if you're a buyer that you don't have a property to sell and you're ready to buy today, well then that might be one you want to consider, right? So let's say you place an offer on that property and it's contingent on the sale of another property. That you and that seller essentially will negotiate and come to terms, and what they're going to do is they're going to go back to buyer A and say, hey, I've got another offer. You have so many days to remove your contingency based on what the two of them have agreed. And if that other buyer can't sell their home, guess what? You get to be the next person in line to buy that home. So that is the sale of another property contingency. The next one, we don't see very often, and that's basically a third-party approval. That's what it'll say online if you see it that way. And that basically means it's somewhat like a short sale, right? So they're going to go to their bank, the buyer and seller have a purchase agreement, but it's going to be below market value. It's lower than what the homeowner has, can sell it for because they owe too much. There's a lot of different circumstances that can take place, right? So they're going to go to the bank and they're going to say, hey, we want to sell it for this price and what have you. The bank either says yes or no, right? So, and if they do, they obviously can close the property. That is a very long, drawn-out process. It can be as short as 3 months. It can be as long as a year. So if it is something you're wanting to go down, just make sure you're educated on how that process works and make sure you're working with an agent that fully understands what is involved when it comes to purchasing that type of property. Okay, so our fourth type of contingency would be, let's say we're going into an association, right? Association, a condo, a townhome, single-family homes with an association. There's a rescission period that says you have the right of so many days to review documents of the association. You'll get to look at their bylaws, their declarations. You're going to get to look at their financials and see if that is something you're comfortable with. Okay, so make sure you understand what that means. Talk to your real estate agent. They'll kind of explain that process to you. If everything goes well, then guess what? It goes to pending. So now that we've covered the four, let's talk a little bit about pending. What does it mean? Pending is when a buyer and a seller mutually agree to sell a property. They have a legal binding contract and they have gone past all of the inspection contingencies and so forth, and now it's pending. It's scheduled to close. Now, you typically won't see these deals fall apart. The only way you would is if, let's say, the buyer's financing falls apart or something like that, then they may no longer qualify for the property. Then you will see it go back on the market. So that's essentially the difference between contingency and pending. It's always worth checking in to see what a contingency is, but make sure you're working with a real estate agent that knows what they're looking for and so forth, because you don't want to waste your time. So this is Jason Dowdey with Weichert Realtors Tower Properties. I hope you find this information beneficial to you. So if you like it, please click and subscribe, and I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.